Oh my gosh. Can you hear me? Ryan's iPad. That's what I got. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yay! I lost Jeremy, so I resent another message to him. So hopefully he joins us. Oh, wait, he's coming on. Yay!
You can find an area where I don't look so fat.
What?
Am I in? Hello.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
I need you to calm down. Am I in? Hey, just stop that.
We're here. All right.
It didn't work the first time, and I was trying to get audio, and I don't know if you saw me or...
I saw you, and it felt like a horror film, like you were trapped in this little box, and you couldn't talk to me. But now you can, so we're okay.
Is the fan too much? Should I stop the spinning?
Yes. Yes. Can you? Can you move?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. There we go.
I hate that. I'm going into the room.
Oh, okay. How was your meeting? Or no, you have one at 1:30, right?
It's actually been canceled. She was going to audition right next door and then have lunch with me afterwards, but I needed to reschedule, and so I ended up coming all the way to the office for nothing, except for this, because I have this fabulous,
Oh. What is that behind you? Is that a clock? No.
It is.
Yeah, it is a clock. That is cool. I want one. I have a little tiny clock. Everybody looks for it in my office. This is my office. I have an office. Can I just show you? I'm like super excited.
Yeah, let's do the tour.
Okay, so it's little. You'll be here, but it's 700 square feet. Well, a little over, but I don't know. Is that a good?
It looks amazing. It's the same room that I taught in before. It's just you did it up nice.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Oh wow.
And then I have a self-taping room, which is right there, and so I'm going to take you in it. This is awkward because I'm holding my computer. The lights aren't in yet. I don't know. Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And I got a little bit of furniture that's missing, but it's really a kitchen. You see?
Yeah.
A little tiny refrigerator that I put in, and then my kids' artwork on the wall. But so I'm gonna sound deaden this room, and then just do self tapes for people who need a little extra help, because a lot of people seem to get the hang of it, at home or whatever. I used to make my kids speak the other lines, and I just thought this would be better to, focus and not have that echo from my house because we have hardwood floors. But anyway, so this is the same space.
It looks amazing.
Put my own artwork up and stuff, and so I'm excited.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's a great setup you got there.
Thanks. Yeah, and it's right by the airport, so it's really great when people have to fly in and fly right back out. No,
I loved that spot because it's also where my hotel was like a 1-minute Lyft ride or 2-minute Lyft ride to the BART station, and then I got to go to BART to San Francisco and back. It was like the best. I love San Bruno. I love it.
Yeah, we're right close to the train and BART, so you could just hop on and go and party and come right back. Did I say train?
Does the train stay above the water?
It does. Yeah.
The train might be a smarter idea because BART goes under the bay. I hate that.
Yeah, but if you go to Oakland, it goes under the bay. The train, I don't think goes under at all. I think it just stays on this side of the bay.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Actually, I think it ends in San Francisco. There's a line that ends, and I don't know where else it continues to go north. But yeah.
Well, where it let me off before was right at where the trolley, the cable car goes over the hill.
Mm-hmm.
It was so great.
Yeah, it's
literally got off the subway, or got off BART, went up the escalator, and I literally, you get out of the escalator, and right there is the turnaround for the cable car. That and then you paid like $14 round trip, and it takes you all the way over the hill to Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where I want it to be.
We gotta
Yeah.
jump on the cable car. I haven't actually done it before. I've just been in
Oh my
car.
god, it is magical, and it's the greatest thing about it for me is like it goes through all those old Victorians, and you think oh my god, what must it be like to live here? And then I looked into it. It was like $5,000 for a fixer upper that's haunted for sure.
That sucks, huh? I've lived here, gosh, I don't even want to say, but I've never been on a cable car. And the one time I did try, it was like a 3-hour wait, and we were on the other side by the water. I mean, that's where all the tourists are, right? It's Hyde Street here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just said, forget it. But yeah, if you're up here, you should go.
Next time, buy the tickets and then just go walk around the other shops and come back.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
The ticket. It's a time. You know what I'm saying? You can just go do other shit for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's
not like
beautiful.
Disneyland.
It's like a fast pass.
You know, they're like, oh my god, what do I do in this whole city for 3 hours? You think like a local is why I'm not a tourist.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to have this interview just so I could pick your brain, or about what you guys are going to do, or what happens in audition therapy. And so I'm recording this, and then I'm going to download it. Then I'm going to edit it so I can just use snippets to just like release and like encourage people to come and stuff like that. And
Right.
answer some questions. There's a couple questions that came in, but I don't know, did you read I sent a newsletter, and it asked people to respond, hey, you got a question for Ryan or Jeremy, and send it to me. But I went to this, I was invited to GoDaddy to listen in on some social media information, like what's new coming up, what are different apps happening, and just some of the people in different companies and what they're doing. And one guy, his name is Brian Kramer, and he's a writer and a big TED Talk speaker. And he said it's really about the human experience. So try and be as human as possible and connecting. So these interviews are great, and ask a question, get feedback just immediately, and then answer that feedback in a video or something that's live, or just so people can connect to you. So I thought, this is my first time trying. So I wanted to see how that, I'm curious how the response is going to be with this, but it was an idea. So.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a great idea because you don't really get a vibe for, what we do until you, see Ryan, especially in his quirks and his method,
and don't forget my sexiness.
That's the next thing I was going to say. Yeah, that too. Right.
Well, I got a vibe when he was up here last year, but I was so freaking busy that I couldn't sit down and listen to anybody. I did listen to Ryan for like 20 minutes. That was the most I got out of everybody that was here. I mean, I worked with some of the coaches before, but I didn't sit in on anything except for Ryan's. And I was pissed that I had to get up and go and take care of somebody's airfare or airline ticket that messed up. Because there was a big old, there was this thing going on. They were redoing a runway at SFO.
Oh, I remember. Believe
you remember?
Me.
Yeah. So
I sat at SFO airport. I got to meet Mike Tyson at the SFO airport leaving that weekend because literally the flights kept getting delayed because of the construction. He was going to Vegas and I was going back to LA, and we were sitting in the same little area, and I used to represent Robin Gibbons. So he was literally sitting like right behind me, like shoulder to shoulder, but facing the other direction, Uh-huh. So I waited until the fan things stopped, and I leaned over to him and I said, Mr. Tyson, I said, you probably thought you would never hear this from a short, older, white, gay man. But I said, you and I have a lot in common when it comes to women. And he goes, okay, tell me. And I said, well, Mike Tyson, we both hate your ex-wife. And the first thing he says to me, he goes, oh, you call me by my first and last name. That's so funny. And then he got up and walked around and came and sat next to me and let me tell him the whole story about why I can't stand his ex-wife. And we ended up bonding over, like, we had the same neck surgery, and he was like, "Oh, have you been having physical therapy?" And I was like, "Yes, Mike Tyson, I a lot of physical therapy." And every time I called him by his name, he just laughed. But like getting to hug Mike Tyson, oh my, he was like, it was like hugging a brick. It was just, and he smelled really good. You just go, "Oh, Mike Tyson, bye-bye." He was so, you just forget you're hugging a, convicted rapist, maybe, whatever. He did do some time for rape, but you forget about that when you're hugging him for a second.
Well, he's an actor, and he's a one-man show too.
But it was fun. It was fun. But I met him because of that construction at SFL last time. But
wow,
you got the impersonation down.
The thing that I noticed when I came up there about like all the speakers, mostly it was about, a lot of them were selling stuff. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the perspective that actors were getting from room to room was really more about, that person's product. And, for the last 21 years, the reason why I've never put it in writing or done a book or written a pamphlet about audition therapy is because it's something that has evolved and changed with the business, and how to book jobs, has nothing to do with, stuff that was locked in time from a long time ago, that's what and I think what Jeremy and I try to do with audition therapy is three things, right? The most important thing is getting everybody to simplify the process that they're taking into the room down to the only method that matters for auditions, and that's chemistry and, truth. And that comes from just listening, being in the moment, and just, it comes down to who am I talking to and how do I feel about them.
Okay.
You create chemistry, because the words have nothing to do with the audition when, because you have to stand out from all the other types that are going out for the same role in a sea of repetition where they, casting will see tapes, or, if you get lucky and you go into the room, they'll see and hear the same thing. And it's not about the words. It's about your aesthetic and your heart and how it's affecting, the person opposite you seeing your performance. And you'll either be right for the role or wrong for the role. But the important goal is to book that audition by giving them the most truthful and authentic version of that moment as it processes through you, right? So to do that, audition therapy, the first thing that we end up having to do for people that are really, really good at acting is, make them realize that you've gotten good at acting, and now it's about, nobody wants to see the acting. Right. The acting has to disappear. And because it has to become the truth, it can't seem rehearsed, and getting really good actors to trust themselves and get them into the moment is our first goal. And that's one of the hardest things. It's easiest when we've had huge success with audition therapy with people who have had no experience with acting at all, zero training. They're a blank slate, because, all we do with audition therapy is try to get everybody down to remembering that all acting is going to that place in your head that was, when you were a little kid, you could pretend like what was happening was real in that moment. That's all acting is. And all acting, I really believe that people go to, once you hit puberty and you become self-aware, you lose that ability and you just become a person, and you stop, if you think about when you're a little kid, the second you start to get mad, some grown-up says, "You don't do that." So you're learned to train your body to not respond instantly to things like rage or shame, right? We hide those things. And now we turn into a grown-up and we're trying to be an actor, and we need those things to register instantly for the camera. But subconsciously, we've spent a lifetime learning to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And people go to acting classes, they use method, they use all these different things to try and learn how to act, but it's not about learning how to act. It's about learning how to block out all the shit that you take into the room with you that keeps you from going to the simplest part of your brain, that if you can either act or you can't. the thing that we focus on is getting people to just go to the truth, go to the place in their brain where they believe everything that they're saying, and then let good preparation. Audition therapy is about, it's self-confidence based. So without good preparation, you're not going to go into the room with confidence. And, we try to focus on listening. Eye lines is a huge critical part of, audition therapy, learning to listen with your eyes and your ears as hard as you can, and creating chemistry. It's really about auditioning and acting are two totally different things. Acting is what you do once you book the job. You're on set. A director's going to direct you. You're going to have things to interact with. That's when you act. Auditioning is how you compete. Auditioning is how you stand out against everybody else who looks and sounds just like you and books a job. So learning how to go in and not let nervous energy overtake you and get to that truthful place is really what we focus on. And, I want to say right off the bat, I don't believe in getting rid of audition anxiety. Like every time I see an ad for a class that says lose audition anxiety, I just go, that's a bad idea, because as soon as you take that energy into the room with you and you label it negatively, you're screwed. And you have to, once you've gone into the room, if you're connecting with somebody and the first thing on your mind is my nerves, you've already lost that room, right? That energy just needs a job. You convert it into chemistry. The first thing that you do is you don't mislabel it and give it some scary name like, oh, my nerves. You say, there's my star quality. It's time to work. And you ask, who am I talking to? How do I feel about them? Period. You turn that energy into chemistry, and that's how you dive into the abyss and just start believing everything coming out of your mouth. And soon you don't recognize what that energy was a few seconds ago. I don't believe in giving it any power. And, lose audition anxiety is not what audition therapy is about. It's about relabeling that energy, claiming your power, and simplifying your process so that you can actually compete as an actor without a bunch of tricks and bells and whistles. I really believe people have gotten so confused by all these audition technique. This is not about this. That's why we call it audition therapy.
Yeah, well, if there's any sort of, superfluous energy, if there's anything that's welling up in your head, you use it to think in character. That's been a big thing I noticed with actors who are, beginners. You ask them what they're thinking while they're in a scene and they're not quite nailing it, and the first thing that they're thinking about is how I should say this line, how I should say that line. Well, you're not thinking as the character. That's step one.
And the great thing about, how Jeremy and I work together on audition therapy is really, helping each person first discover their brand and their type.
Wow, that's a big deal.
What they are in their own skin. One of the things that I'm a little bit controversial about is now when people say, what's my brand? Or I'm working on my brand, I have to stop them and say, okay, you're trapped. That's just a new way of saying, what's my type?
Right.
And as soon as you're stuck waiting for somebody or something or a group of people to define you, you're on a journey that's going nowhere, because you are what you are. Your brand is the content that you create now, and it's going to grow and change with you. Your brand has nothing to do with your look. It has nothing to do with your aesthetic. Your brand is the content that you create, and type doesn't matter anymore, because now there's a market for everybody, period. And what's my brand is something that people will take into the audition room with them. And again, it's just a layer of crap that they feel safe behind instead of telling the truth. And so Jeremy, he's an amazing actor, and he's our reader. And we do everything on camera, and we pick material that, we do it one of two ways, depending on, after we meet with people, we do it one of two ways, because people have different things that we need to fix. We either give them material that fits them like a glove, or we give them something that's just slightly off and let them feel what a real audition feels like, where you get an audition for something because of your picture or your demo footage, so they think you might be right, but you're probably not.
But you've got
Oh.
a traditional, believable, truthful audition without going into your head because it doesn't feel quite right. So depending on what the people need to fix, we go one of two ways to sort of break it open. And I start everything as cold as possible, so that they have to face Jeremy, feel all of their energy surge up like they would face a stranger, and realize that, well, you've got the script in your hand. As long as you remember not to panic and stay connected, you can look at the words as much as you need to, as long as you're thinking in character and that chemistry never breaks. And once they realize, it's sort of like, you wouldn't look at me now and guess that I was ever a junior rodeo person, but it sort of reminds me like when they would break some Broncos, it's like the actor brain just wants to act and do all this stuff. And then simplifying it down and making them feel safe and comfortable enough to just be creative and instinctual. It's a process. Mm-hmm. And so giving actors that scene that doesn't really fit quite right and making them have to find the truth as close as they can, that's a great thing. And then sometimes when people have low self-esteem, we like to give them something that fits them like a glove.
Uh-huh.
They can be, and then show them how they can be better. It's usually the actors that think they know everything. We like to, break them a little bit. Uh-huh. And then, Jeremy will read one of two ways. He will act, or he will just give tone and tempo. Because you get two kinds of casting directors. You get actors, they either act for you, or they just read. But they always give you tone and tempo. And that's it.
I have a question for Jeremy. So how did you meet Ryan, and how did you so I know Ryan's background, what he's done, how he's got here, but how did you get involved with all of this and developing audition therapy?
I actually met Ryan, funny enough, when he was going undercover.
What?
I wasn't undercover. Okay.
Okay. I'm joking. But he was in an improv class. He felt like he was a little out of touch with actors at the time, and he was doing a bit of research. And so it was this group of people, improvisers, who were hanging out every week. And after a few weeks, we got friendly, and hey, you're funny. Hey, you're really funny. And then I thought, hey, I recognize this guy from somewhere, and I don't know where. And called him out on it, and I realized he was in these Actors Access videos that I had seen, where he what was it called, The Real Deal? That
was talking about actors' demo reels.
He reviews actors' demo reels, and it's bitingly hilarious. Sometimes really kind, sometimes just on the nose, but
sometimes we were also really mean.
Yeah.
Oh no! Okay, so I produced some demo reels. Last year and this year.
Well, this was early demo reel days too, so people didn't have you couldn't film on the phones as easily, and so people were really, it was very guerrilla still, and so some of the footage that would come in was hilarious.
It's a great show. Yeah, if you get a chance, Rosie, I think you can still find it on YouTube. It's highly entertaining. But anyway, yeah. So he brought me in for one of Silvana's classes as a reader, and the class went so well that we thought, well, let's just start one of these ourselves. And here we are, 2.5 years later.
Yeah, I was teaching a beginner's class in Hollywood, and I had Jeremy come and do a reader, be my reader, and when I had to slow my brain down and explain everything to beginning actors, and I had Jeremy there to sort of drive like an expensive sports car, because he's so good at acting, that I could say, hit it harder here. I mean, his brain is, crazy genius, and he can remember direction down to a fine. So I can throw him things fast in the moment, and it was a way for me to start fixing things. Because a lot of actors don't have things broken, other than they just need to have more self-confidence knocked into them, here or there. And then one of the things that we've done since the beginning of this is Jeremy is an amazing writer. I've always written, and so we write a lot of the material for our students based on fixing specific things. Like, rather than try to hunt down some material that, like, if we isolate a specific problem with, like, for example, we had a student who couldn't connect as soon as she was being yelled at by a man, right? So rather than find something that had the specific subject matter that would hit it hard but not hit it too hard, you know, that could have taken months. So we just created something to fix a specific thing. You know, we've kind of taken audition therapy into I don't want to say science, because everybody's different, and I don't think that there's a method that fixes everybody. And it's really just about getting people to simplify, unlearn as much as possible, and just be themselves. And actors,
and to get out of this state of mind that you need to go through, you know, an acting program where there's 12 steps of building a character from start to finish and filling your brain with all this crap that gets you out of the moment and out of actually connecting with people.
And then that takes you into what's my brand. You know?
Exactly.
And
But you think all this is just fluff and layers? You just work at the core and who they are and try and pull out all their authenticity in the moment. And
and then, you know, the bounce back up from that, you know, what to do after you've learned what we have to teach. You know, the end of audition therapy is also, you know, once we've gotten you to stop worrying about what your brand is and realize that your brand is the content that you create, hopefully what we leave behind is people will be inspired to create content that shows what they're the best at. Hopefully after a weekend of audition therapy, people have an idea of what they are best at and what they should start creating for themselves, because that's how most people are making it these days, content creation.
Oh, okay. So that's what my question was going to be, is so you're telling people that, well, they figured this out, what they're good at. Why don't you just go make your own? And then...
Well, but it's not about making it, because when people hear make your own, they think, oh, how am I supposed to get an audience? If your goal is to get auditions, right, you need compelling footage. The gift is that you don't have to wait to book those jobs now. You can take reasonable, you know, equipment, and you can make compelling footage for your Actors Access profiles, your LA casting, your backstage, wherever you need compelling footage on those sites just to get in the business. So creating compelling footage is just as important as having the right headshot, clean, easy resume to read. You have to have good footage and strong social media foundation. So while you're creating footage to sell yourself as an actor, you might just accidentally create something that takes off on its own. So, you know, what we try to counsel the group, you know, towards as we finish up the weekend is a plan for what to do after we leave that involves competing better as an actor, creating stronger marketing tools for their self-submissions, as well as hopefully maybe, you know, leave them with some idea of what to create for themselves based on once they, you know, hopefully have a little bit of an awakening as to who they are.
So in your opinion, Jeremy and Ryan, so you feel that it's necessary for actors to have reels at this point? There's like no excuses?
There is zero excuse to have a good footage, because you can look, I'm just going to do a little in the old days for a second. In the old days before the internet, I was a musician before the internet came along. And before musicians could get signed by labels, we had to have our look down. We had to know who we are. We had to know what our sound was. We had to spend thousands of dollars to make expensive recordings before the labels would even listen to us, let alone distribute us, right? The internet came along, and musicians as a community were ready for that shit. And they collapsed the label system by going straight to the fans and distributing themselves. As a group of artists, they were ready for distribution. Actors, on the other end of this, have been trained by Hollywood for 100+ years to rely on Hollywood for everything from what you're going to look like, to how you're going to feel about yourself, to what jobs you get to book, to what defines your career. Meanwhile, you've got little kids for the past 15 or so years inventing this market where they put a cat in toast, they stick it on a Roomba, and they get 1 million views and then a deal at YouTube Red, right? They didn't reinvent the wheel. All that's going on here is that a group of younger artists who aren't lazy because they didn't know what they were doing. They were just creating stuff for fun, and then they became content creators before they were even 20. You know, social media influencers have built this market that now what I really hope to leave behind is a generation of actors who aren't thinking like old thinking actors, who aren't waiting for Hollywood to define them. They need to realize that they can now create stronger marketing tools just based on the technology alone.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're creating those marketing tools, you may end up not needing anything other than the stuff you create on your own. You can be in the business now immediately without having to wait for it. Is hopefully the audition therapy message. And
I have Jeremy, really quick. I got to notice that I have 10 minutes left, but so because you're an actor, like what tools did you find necessary, and were you able to measure and gauge that these were successful marketing tools? And what do you use that other people aren't using so that actors can migrate in that direction and find their way to work those things that work best for them? I mean, what have you used? And
well, I actually, I started writing at the recommendation of a good friend. I started writing to create scenes that I could act in. So it sort of started as, I'll do this begrudgingly. And then I realized that I loved it. And then I looked for people to help direct my material. Couldn't find people to do that. So I started directing. And it sort of turned into like, my big passion now. Realizing through doing that, like, I don't actually need to rely on other people to create things. So I would say, to sort of touch on the point that, Ryan was just talking about, I'm always encouraging people in our class to think bigger than, I'm just an actor. Because if you look, even in the old studio days, a lot of the, famous actors of the past were also producers, or they were also writers, or they were also directors. They knew how to put people together. They knew how to form a group and to make films, and that's how the old studio system started. People built studios from friendships that grew and grew, and so that would be my recommendation. Is like, okay, we know that you're an actor. We know that you like to act. What can you do to add more value to yourself? Okay, try writing. Okay, you don't like writing? Try directing. You don't like directing? Then maybe you're a producer type. Put people together, get something made, but don't sit around waiting just to get auditions and book something. Just think bigger. If you want to think about brand, in the way that we're talking about, think about what you can create and what you can give. And like what you were talking about earlier, Rosie, having an actual human connection with people. Like the best way I can think to create a human connection is to actually create something that gives to people, rather than just going out as an actor who hasn't done anything, who doesn't have any tape, and saying, please book me. That's there's very often like a needy sort of vibe that comes with that.
I get it.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's career as a filmmaker is also kind of taking off in Lightspeed, which is, an interesting thing. He, rather than worry about, because I met him as an actor, and the thing that fascinates me about Jeremy and what's kind of testament to audition therapy as a process is that acting and trying to get better as an actor, and then as we started talking about the importance of, creating content, he's so good at that part of it, that's his life is kind of like an audition therapy work in progress, and is a really solid example of sort of following the flow based on where your creativity and inspiration is first struck. And I met him in an improv class, and the thing I learned about improv changed me as a writer and as a manager and kind of as a person a little bit. Just say yes, and Jeremy kind of does that with his career as an artist, and that is kind of, you know, the important thing about finding your journey as an artist, especially if you live out of town. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't just think of yourself as an actor waiting to be discovered. You have to say yes, and in a world where, you know, you've got kids, you know, like stealing the show. But you can also see, like, I signed this woman who's well in her 70s a year ago, right before things got busy. And I'm going to be circling back now, because the reason I signed this woman at her age is because of the social media life she created with her alter ego, and she raises possums, you know, and she's hilarious. And, you know, creating content is all anybody cares about, and you can actually get better auditions, as well as maybe even, you know, sell content to Amazon, Netflix, people are getting breaks all the time now. And, you know, whether you're creating compelling footage that sells you as an actor, or whether you're creating compelling footage like Jeremy that sells him as a writer, producer, director, you know, it's compelling footage that's, you know, letting him be an artist. And I think that's the important thing. You know, the business is in a renaissance. This is the business could not be in a bigger renaissance period. And so Jeremy has like a very renaissance kind of an attitude. And I think that was probably why we bonded, is I'm also a very renaissance kind of guy.
But you make me think of, so you're going to focus in on self-tapes, and I think I have like 3 minutes left, so I want to make this quick. How much of the auditions that come in for your clients, or that you see with like your friends who also represent, what's the ratio with auditioning on tape versus live auditions? Like,
oh my God, 50 now.
Really? That much?
It's so, I mean, this last 2 weeks, I have literally put maybe even more than half, maybe just because we're going into a holiday weekend and things kind of shut down today. But I've put at least half of my clients on tape, or had to have them self-tape, and that's what we send in. It's all EcoCast, you know.
Wow,
yeah.
That's great to know.
Yeah, it's become, you know, and most people either overthink self-tapes or they underthink it, and or they think technology is going to make bad acting looks, you know, passable. I'm not kidding you. I've had clients book jobs from self-tapes from the back seat of a car with somebody holding the iPhone, filming them from the front seat. I booked a job, a kid, he was on a cruise, and his mom had her phone, and it was like straight up to his face. You could barely hear it, but I mean, it's about the connection, the chemistry, and you're the right actor or not. Not about the technology. It's not about the equipment.
Okay.
There's some basics that you got to cover, but self-taping can be accomplished without a lot of thought. It's about knowing how to connect. And
Got it. So is there anything you two would like to say? Really quick. I have less than a minute. Oh, well, that's okay.
Come to our class. We you know, it'll be a great weekend. That's all I have to say.
Jeremy?
Yeah, come to our class, because it's a hyper thrust into connecting and acting, and a quick fix for bad habits that will put you out in the room.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So, well, if this hangs up on me, I'm sorry, but I really do thank you. This is going to be great. So I'm going to download this once we're done, and then I'll just break it up into snippets and try and reorganize it so it comes out in sort of like a better linear, so we're not hopping all over the place, and just release little topics here and there throughout this week and next week, and then tag you wherever I put it, if that's okay. Or do you want to see it all before I release it?
I only say stuff that I don't care if people hear. So.
Even the Mike Tyson bit?
Oh, I left off the good stuff.
Oh, no. Okay, you got to tell me that in person. I want to hear it. I won't record it, promise. That's awesome. Well, thank you. I guess I'm limited on these things. Yeah, I didn't realize that. We're still going, but it's not recording anymore.
Okay.
But
Spreading joy. I've got to go deal with a self-tape issue as we speak.
all right, well, have fun. Thank you. It was great to meet you, Jeremy. I'm really excited, and I'm gonna work.
Likewise, yes. I can't wait. I'm stoked. This is going to be a great weekend.
Yeah.
Get on a cable car.
Oh my God. I might